Welcome to lesson 4.1.5, connecting pieces of different representations and completing multiple representations are what we did in this unit, and we're going to primarily look at the team challenge in problem 37. The big idea in this chapter is, not chapter, but in this unit is to basically take and use pieces of information from different representations. So for example, in this first problem, they gave us two pieces of information. They didn't give us like two figures or enough information on the graph. Notice they left the scale off here, so we really don't know what those numbers are, and they only gave us one figure. But we can make a connection. For example, since this is figure 3, we can count how many tiles are in here. 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So this has 16 tiles. We can put that information on the graph. Figure 3 right here would have 16 tiles. That means if I carried it back over here, that would be 16. Now, you can kind of use your growth triangle backwards. If this went down 4 and over 1, well, we can see the 1, that's going to be figure 2. But if this went down 4, it went from 16 to 12. If it kept that pattern, it would go down here to 8, and if it did it one more time, it would go down to 4. I now have enough information to go ahead and find the rule, because they wanted us to find the rule, the XY table, make a graph, and do figures 0 through 3. So let's go ahead and take a chance at that. Let's look at the growth triangle here. Notice that it went over 1, and it went up 4. So I can make a slope ratio, or not a slope ratio, growth triangle ratio. Remember, the number on the top is the amount it went up. Number on the bottom is the amount it went from side to side. So that's 4 over 1, or 4. So I've got part of my rule, y equals something x. I think you remember that this number here is going to be the growth. Okay. And then this number here, right here, it's positive, so it's plus 4. I'm going to rewrite our rule one time just so it'll be a little bit neater. Y equals 4 over 1 is 4, x plus 4. Now, that's the rule. They asked us to make an XY table. That's actually not too tricky to do. And so the XY table would be 0 and 4, 1 and 8, 2 and 12, 3 and 16. Now, we were also supposed to make a graph, but they've already got the graph. So I used a sheet that came from chapter 3. This is a multiple representation, and it gives us a place to put everything. So I put my 4 figures. I put my graph, my table, and my rule with a little reminder of how we calculate it. I want to show you really quick on here how I saw the pattern. Because remember, in the problem, they only gave us one figure. They didn't give us two. So I got to decide how I wanted to do it. You could do it differently. But I noticed that it was going down by 4 each time if I'm going backwards, or up by 4 going to the forward direction. So I went and said, okay, well, what would happen if I said that I'm adding these 3 and that one? So when I did that, that gave me my figure 2. Well, if I follow that same pattern, these were the 3 that were added, and that one. And that would give me my figure 1. These were the 3 that were added, and that would be my figure 0. So basically, it took it all the way back. So you should have had these pieces of information for all of the problems. I'm not going to show you all of them, but I'm going to get some basic information on each of them. Okay, the next one, part B. Okay, on this one, what they wanted you to see is this, and how they're connected. This is a figure number, so you could say figure 4 had 31 and figure 7 had 58. I can draw a growth triangle out of that. My growth triangle is going to be going this way. I can tell that I went from 4 to 7. 4 to 7 is a growth of 3. And then going this direction, well, I'm just going to carry this over. I went from 31 to 58, and I'm going to find out how much that is. 31, I don't need to cancel, just 7, 27. So I went up 27. I'm going to write my fraction, and I'm going to get 27 over 3. And I happen to know that 27 over 3 will equal 9. So I have a growth rate of 9. So for my rule, y equals 9x, and then I've still got something else to put here. I don't know where this is going to cross, but if they've drawn it accurately, it's going to be down here in the negative area. I don't know if that's true or not, but we're going to see. If I know my growth rate is 9, I'm going to go backwards here. And if this was 9, let's see, this was 31. So 9 less would be 22. 9 less than that right here would be 13. 9 less than that right here should be 4. And then 9 less than that here should be negative 5. So I know that this part of my rule is negative 5. Had to create an XY table. Real easy now. 0, negative 5. 1 is 4. 2 is 13. 3 is 22. And 4 is 31. I'm not going to continue it all the way up. I needed to make a graph and a pattern. And so I'm going to show you what I created for this. I created a pattern. By the way, the black is a mistake. And because it's negative 5, what I said is if I started with these 5 here, and they're negative, and then I added 9 positive tiles, well, 5 of them would cancel and I'd be left with 4. So there's my 4. Then I added another 9 tiles right next to it. And now I had my 13. And then I added another 9 tiles next to it. I'm going to... Okay, I made my table. My rule I put here. I also did my graph. And when I did my graph, I put my rule on my graph. Okay, we're running out of time, so I'm just going to briefly go through the next ones. I'm not going to do the graphs and tables on them. But on this one, they told me that figure 8 has 2. So I could go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 8 has 2 tiles. Well, that's a big space, but I can tell this. If I went up 5 on the x's, I went down 10 here. Let's see, if I divided this 10, so it would go into this 5 spaces I have. Let's see, negative 10 over 5, I would get negative 2, going down by 2. Let's see if that works. 12, let's take away 2, would give me 10. Take away 2 would give me 8, 6, 4, and 2. So that works. I have enough now to make that. I can make my pattern. I just have to do that. On this one, they gave us the rule and the rule here and this. Let's just show you what we know. We do see the rule here, 7. We also see this going over and down. Because it's going down, that's going to be a -3, and that's all.